Good afternoon, and thank you for joining this edition of Vendor Chats. So we have a lovely array of vendors on our call this evening, answering some really awesome questions, just some things for you couples out there to know, some common misconceptions, some things you don't think about, and yeah, just some advice for you. So before we get started on the questions, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce our lovely vendors on the call. So I'll start with me first. I'm Michelle Ritchie, and I run the wedding division at Devoted Columbus. So all things wedding related come through me. Next up, we have Rich Harris. Who are you? What do you do?
Thanks, Michelle. My name is Rich Harris. My wife, Deborah, and I own and operate the Henry Manor. It's a wedding venue, a special event venue in Lancaster, Ohio. So we've been doing it for about 4 years now, and just still establishing the brand itself and growing, learning as we go in this industry. So it's exciting times coming out the other end of the pandemic here, and excited to see what the rest of the year brings us into next year as well.
Absolutely. And if you guys can see his background, that is his lovely venue showcasing for you.
There we go.
Amy, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Ross. I'm the owner of the Crystal Ballroom Dance Center in Worthington. So what we do is help people connect through dance. So anyone that is looking to have a wedding dance, whether it's something simple or something fantastic, we can help you with that.
Awesome. And we always recommend taking dance lessons. I know sometimes it sounds a little silly, like I know how to dance, but believe me, when it comes to your first dance or your parent dances, contact Amy. Andrea, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, my name is Andrea Sargent, and I am with Devoted Columbus, and I'm a wedding day assistant.
Chris, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Chris Ortlieb, and I'm the owner-operator of Premier Entertainment. We're a wedding DJ company based out of Powell, and we've been operating out of Central Ohio since 2011. We're incredibly unique, and I'm excited to have this chat with you today.
Happy to have you here. Chad, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Chad. I own the Columbus Photo Booth Company. Also, thanks for having us. I appreciate that. We've been around since 2007. We have expanded into all kinds of things, but photo booth rentals are definitely our primary focus. And yeah, I kind of reiterate what Chris said. It's nice to be coming out the other end of this pandemic and seeing a little hope on the horizon.
I think we're all feeling that way. Absolutely. As weddings are continuing to move on, it might be changing this year, but they're still happening. So it's great to feel that. All right, Allison, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison. I am one of the account managers with Devoted Pros. So I work with a lot of our wedding vendors, and then I also organize our wedding experience bridal show.
And you'll hear more about the wedding experience later on at the end of this video, but we'll talk about that later. All right, so we have a couple great questions for you all today. So I want to start with my first question for Chad. What is the best tip that you can give couples when they use your company for photo booth?
So photo booths are relatively simple to book, but one of the things that I get from couples all the time is, well, actually what I ask them. Many of the venues, they'll have the reception and the ceremony on site. And for the photo booth, it does take us about 75 minutes to set up our equipment. So a lot of times if the ceremony is actually on site, that presents a problem with our setup time. So we would have to adjust those times to be earlier in the day or during cocktail hour or whatnot. Other than that, I tell you, it's real straightforward. It always seems to be that the customers that reach out to us, we're either the first vendor they choose or the last. So a lot of people just have to have a photo booth these days. So it's like one of those things. But then a lot of people have their budgeting issues. And if they have some budget at the end, they want to go with the photo booth because they did want it. That's really all I would say is for us, it's really about timing of setting it up. Other than that, it's really very straightforward.
Can you talk a little bit about what options are out there for types of photo booths, maybe?
Absolutely. So our traditional photo booth, we just call it the Big Classic. That's our name for it. It's a traditional enclosed booth. It's modern with modern lines, and it's attractive, I think. But in the days of COVID, obviously, a lot of people don't want an enclosure around their guests. So we offer what we call open air setups, which is all the equipment is exactly the same. There's just no booth around it. So that's very popular, and we can customize the backdrops for them. And it just allows the people to be able to be socially distanced if they choose that. Other than that, we have 3 other styles. Of course, green screens, which usually are not so much focused on weddings. They're really great for corporate events, nonprofits, and personal events. We also have our LED booth, which is great. It's an inflatable booth. So it actually is quote unquote enclosed, but it has LED lights built into the booth that we can program to be any color we want or put it on a random color. People love that for school events, it seems, and for birthday parties, just really jazzes things up and really kind of sets the mood for those sorts of events. We also have what we call magic mirrors, which is relatively new, probably been out 5 years or so. And it's very cool because the customers actually interact with the mirror itself, and the mirror can actually talk to them. There's messages, and it's much more interactive. But each one of the setups has its pros and its cons. Magic mirrors sometimes get used for weddings, usually not. I would say 80% of the time it's either the Big Classic or the open air setup. But yeah, we have those 5 styles, and there's also what's called a halo ring booth, where it's basically pretty mobile. Someone just carries it around with an iPad in the middle and takes photos. So that's another option too. Not nearly as popular though.
Yeah, I love that there are so many options now for photo booths, and it fits everybody's style. So thank you for sharing that as well. I think that's really good for our couples to know.
I should say one last thing is virtual photo booths now too. Sometimes people just want to have the software on a phone or a computer and let their guests use it that way virtually, which can be done. And then we can superimpose images behind the photos that they take, and of course, customize them with a frame around it or a message or whatever they would like. So that's another option that's kind of popped up here in the last year or so.
That's a great call. Well, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Sure.
So I'll move on to Chris. What is the best tip you can give couples when using your services?
Thank you so very much. Probably the best tip that I could give to couples using my services would be to trust the process. As they say in Texas, this isn't my first rodeo. So I've worked with a lot of fabulous vendors in the city, and it's always my honor and my pleasure to serve my clients. And the planning process that we go through is incredibly detailed from the time that I arrive. I okay that with the venue. It's 3 hours before I get started, just in case there's any sort of hiccups that need to be addressed. Very last song of the night and everything in between. It's about a 5 or 6 page itinerary on my end. I also reach out to all of the different vendors that we work with, including your photographer, your videographer, your venue manager, just to make sure that I connect with them and make sure they're aware of what's going on and what I've discussed with my clients. If there's anything that needs to be wrangled as far as timing and such, we do that kind of either over email or Zoom and make sure that we're all on the same page, because everything runs a heck of a lot smoother when everybody's on the same page. So my tip to clients that have gone with us would be to probably trust the process. I know that getting married and it's a one-shot deal. Hopefully it's a one-shot deal. However, you've paid all this money to all these great vendors. You need to trust kind of what's going on that day and understand that we've seen a lot of things happen and we can adjust to fix them on the fly without you even knowing. So the less that you really worry about the DJ and the entertainment, probably the better.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know if a lot of couples realize that DJs offer that service. I mean, you're so already a part of that planning process. It's nice to call that out. And I think it's important to call out too that, you know, if you were to hire a planner, they would work with you, the DJ, to make sure timelines aligned and any of those gaps are filled as well. So it's not a complete loss just because you have Chris as the evening coordinator. It's a combined team, right?
I'd like to also add that we are very much pro planner and we definitely play well with others. So if you do hire a planner, we are happy to work with that vendor included. However, part of what we do normally is to kind of itinerize the evening part of the wedding. So, but if you hire a planner, we definitely work well and play well with others. So hiring a planner is definitely a wise move as well.
Yeah, we all form the wedding team on the day of, right? So
Right.
More hands in, more team members to get on the same page it's always a good idea for sure.
Definitely.
I was going to ask you another question that slipped my mind, but I might have to come back to you later on that. So thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
I will be here.
Awesome. Amy, what is the best tip you can give couples when using your services?
So I think the most important thing is people think of dance lessons as, oh yeah, I guess a couple months before the wedding, we learn to dance. And really it's a longer process than that if you want to be comfortable. So it takes between 6 to 8 hours to build muscle memory. So you want to make sure that 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding at the minimum. I'll take that back for a second. I have taught people to dance in 1 week before when necessary, but it's a big commitment at that point. So to keep it away from the stress of everything else, the biggest tip is to start early. Do a consultation before you even need to start the lessons. So if it's 2 years out, do the consultation, get to know the venue the vendor that you're getting ready to work with. Make sure they're people you're comfortable with and that you like and that you trust. And then from there, you can plan out about 6 months before the wedding is the best time to get started. So do the consultation early, get it planned, budget it in. And then from there, it makes it a simple process. We just teach you to dance.
That is awesome. And what can you tell our couples out there, like some of the reasons they would come to you? I mean, dance types or whatnot?
Yeah, well, typically for a wedding, you're either looking for a first dance, you're looking for a mother-son dance, you're looking for a father-daughter dance, a wedding party dance, or a lot of times the father and mother of the bride and groom really have been wanting to dance, and this is their opportunity to try it and get out there and do something together for themselves. So there's really a variety of reasons. For the first dance, there are a lot of people that they want to do big routines. There's other people that just want to get comfortable, move together, and feel really great whenever they're being videoed for the first time as a couple in each other's arms.
Absolutely. Great points. Thank you so much. Allison, from a wedding show perspective, what's a good tip that you can share with couples?
Use the shows to get to know some vendors, interview some vendors. It doesn't matter where you're at in your planning process. You can be 2 years out, you can be a year out, you can be months out, and you can still get something from a wedding show. We have some couples that just keep coming back because they like it throughout their whole planning process. And that's great because you're going to take away something different at every show. You know, and I'll go into some more incentives with our show later on, but I think it's really important to know that you use that time to get to know people, go face to face, interview them, you know, ask them their questions, and you get to compare the vendors that are there. So, you know, it's a great opportunity and it's no pressure. You know, the vendors that are there are not pressuring you to do something. They're there to educate you and let you know what your options are and see if they're a good fit for you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you said, you're going to go into a little bit about the shows later on, but yeah, absolutely. Okay, Rich, what is the best tip you can give to couples when booking your venue?
Well, I mean, every venue is uniquely different. So I would definitely say to, you know, shop around, book as early as humanly possible because everyone books up pretty quickly. There's so many of your other vendors, as you've heard already on this call, that rely on the rules and the regulations of the particular venue. So know your budget going into it, know your expectations for what you want to do at the venue. And then have those conversations with people ahead of time. And I think that these steps will help you get the most for your money and the most for your expectations. So shop early and talk to the venue owners.
Yeah, that's a great point. What are do you have a lot of clients coming to you like later in their planning process? Are you seeing that they are booking early for their venue?
We've seen a little of both. So especially since, you know, COVID has happened, we've had a lot of last minute bookings, and we can work with that as long as our schedule allows for that. But we've started booking for, you know, 2023 as well. So there's people that like to plan that far out in advance. So I would say, you know, again, just go as early as you can and have those conversations so that you know what to expect.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Andrea, do you have any other follow-ups or anything you want to add for that question?
Sure. I'm going to piggyback off of something that Chris said. He said to trust the process. And I'm going to say trust the vendors that you've hired, trust your team. If you're second guessing or doubting their capabilities or their decisions, then they're not the vendors for you. And I would question why you hired them to begin with, because that's something that I find myself telling couples, you know, especially on the wedding day or like the week leading up to, trust the team that you've hired. We're all professionals. We know what we're doing because we are a team, you know, so just not only trust the process, but trust your team as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Andrea. All right, so we're going to go into our second question now, and I'll start back with Chad. What do you think is the biggest misconception when the couples have about photo booths or hiring a photo booth?
That it's a distraction. That would probably be that it's hokey. And based on my experience, there are some photo booths out there that might fit that bill. Obviously, there's a lot of great ones as well. For example, let's just say we're having a very formal wedding at a very upscale venue. People might think, oh no, the photo booth isn't going to fit in. And in fact, the opposite. It's just the truth that everybody truly does love having their picture taken in a photo booth. And one of the keys to it is our people will introduce ourselves to the DJ or the MC person and make an announcement about once an hour or so that the photo booth is over here and that the bride and groom or the couple that have hired us want everybody to go in at least once throughout the night, because the photos will print on site and they are, well, a lot of times they serve as the party favor. So in addition, we will make a book on site for the couple that has hired us and ask those folks in the photo to sign a nice note. So people are going to laugh. They are going to hoop it up, especially if alcohol is being served. And as the night goes on, the groups tend to get bigger and louder. But by that time, the party is kicked off, you know, and that's what you want at a party is energy. And I believe that the photo booth really brings that. It is an icebreaker from the second it starts. People say, oh, what's that? You know, it looks like people are having a good time over there. So I think people do think it's kind of, well, some people think it's hokey, but once people have gone to a wedding or an event with a photo booth, they realize how popular it is. And, you know, once they've seen it, they say, oh, I think I want that for mine as well. So I think it's just coming past the perception of people that haven't seen it in use at an event, that it actually enhances the event rather than take from it.
Thank you so much. I agree with you. I fully agree with you on that as well. Okay, so I am going to ask the same question of Chris. Common misconceptions.
Common misconceptions are probably about the importance of the DJ in the success of the evening. And I'd like to think that the general public's view of DJs has changed within the last 15 or 20 years, but sometimes people don't really understand how important the success is. And I took a workshop that was an introduction to being a master of ceremonies. And to illustrate this point, the person who was teaching the workshop asked all of us how important we thought DJs were to the success of the evening. And there were a smattering of different answers, but he said, I'll tell you how important you are. And I'll even put a dollar amount on it. He said, and I don't recommend this, don't show up. Your couple will sue you for the full amount of their event because it will be not a success. So the DJ is probably responsible for, granted my opinion is biased, but the DJ is probably responsible for about 80% of the success of the evening, because as humans, we're wired to remember the bad experiences, and you're going to remember the bad ones way more than you'll remember the good ones. So it's very important to vet your vendors, vet your DJ, ask as many questions as you possibly can think of if your DJ doesn't already try and convey their value to you. But a common misconception is that the DJ isn't integral, and therefore it kind of falls down the pantheon of vendors that you book and does not get the importance that they deserve. So that would be my thoughts on that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I would agree with you. And I apologize, my video is going a little glitchy, so not sure if you guys can see that. Not sure if I can fix it, but all right, Amy.
So the biggest misconception people have about dance lessons is that I only need dance lessons if I want to do a huge viral routine that I want everybody to watch on YouTube or Facebook. That is not the reason that we teach dance lessons for the most part. Now we can, if you want a really fun, showy routine, we can do that. But most people just want to be comfortable moving together. So there's a lot of people that say, no, I have 2 left feet, I can't dance. Well, that's why we exist. That's why dance studios exist. It's for those people with 2 left feet. We can help you. We can show you how easy it is. We can keep it simple for you and make you two look fantastic to the song that you choose. And we can even help you choose a song if that's also something that you're thinking, I'm not sure what to do here about this. The other, and this isn't a misconception, but just to emphasize this as well, that dancing is one of the few things from your wedding that you can take after the wedding. So the event is a beautiful thing, but that dancing, that connection that you establish with one another is something you can keep for the rest of your life, and you can come back to when you have free time, or when your kids leave the house in 20 years. You can always come back to dancing and make that something that you two have together.
And how fun is it to have something to do to keep with you after your wedding, something to do like on Friday nights, right? You can take more lessons, or you can go, we still have like clubs where you can dance, not clubs but like line dancing clubs and stuff like that. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
We have them every week, and that people don't even know that community exists. There's probably 500, 600 people in Columbus that go out dancing every week.
That is super fun. So there you go. Something to do after you get married. All right, Allison, from a show perspective, what are some misconceptions?
I think some of the misconceptions are one, that vendors are going to be pushy, and you're going to feel like you're being forced into something. With the experience that I've had at shows, it's the complete opposite. Not only do you want to make sure you have a vendor that's a good fit for you, but the vendor wants to make sure that you're a good fit for them as well. So as much as the couple is there, interviewing for vendors, the vendors are kind of interviewing the couples too. So it's a really good opportunity to get face-to-face, to get that feel, because when you're talking on a phone or through email or something, you don't always get the same picture as you do when you're face-to-face with someone. You don't get to see the body language. You don't get to see, are they smiling at me, or do they look like they're angry all the time, because you want to work with someone that seems like they're happy and cheerful, so it's that they're not out there just to say, hey, come sign with me. They want to make sure you're a good fit. You want to make sure they're a good fit. You don't have to stay at the show the entire time. I mean, these shows are hours long. You don't have to interview every single vendor. It's great if you do. But you might already have your DJ booked, or you might have your venue or your cake, and so you don't have to feel like you need to go speak to every single person there. But even if you have your vendors, I think another misconception is I already have my vendors, so I don't need a bridal show. No, absolutely not. Go and get inspiration. You're going to learn something or see something and be like, hey, I didn't even know I needed that, and now I do. So I just think there's more to it than just going and picking vendors. You can get so much more out of it, and it's a huge benefit for them as well as the vendor to be able to do that face to face.
And let's not forget prizes. I mean, there are opportunities at most bridal shows to win prizes, and those things that you didn't know you needed and then you found out you needed, that's an opportunity for you to possibly win that opportunity.
Yeah,
as well.
I'll touch more on the prizes at the end.
Prizes, yeah, plus the food. Even if you don't need a caterer necessarily for your wedding anymore, try the food, get those caterers or other vendors for other parties in your life that you'll be entertaining. You can use that as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Rich.
If I
So
could piggyback on what Allison said about going to talk to vendors. One of the big things with me is to make sure that I'm vibing with that person. So obviously a wedding show is not where I would typically meet. I do that, 2 or 3 times a year, but I definitely want to meet with these people. And if I can tell you what I do in a genuine and authentic way and convince you that I'm the vendor for you, like that's the benefit for both of us, is that I'm there presenting my genuine authentic self. I wear my fabulous red shoes and I am my genuine self. I try and be that. I learned a long time ago that you're not trying to put on airs and be something that you're not, or be what you think that that couple wants you to be, especially at a wedding show. You need to present your authentic self, and not every client is necessarily going to be for you, but when you're presenting your authentic self face to face or mask to mask in the COVID era, you definitely get a better sense for who that vendor really is. So I just wanted to add that.
yeah, absolutely. No, great call out. Rich, so I'm going to move over to you. What are the biggest misconceptions in the venue space?
Well, I mean, echoing what some of the other vendors have already said, it's really building the rapport and the relationship with that couple. The venue is going to be one of those iconic memories, that's going to be in your photos. It's going to be what people talk about. So you want to make sure that it's a good fit for both parties. But what I would say is a misconception is that the more you pay for a venue, the better experience you'll have. Again, like I said earlier, every venue is uniquely different. There's all kinds of different price points out there, and that comes with doing your experience and finding an affordable venue that's flexible to meet the requests of the couple, because it's your special day when you're getting married. You know, if the venue's not going to let you do something that you really want to do to make your day memorable, that might not be the best venue for you. So regardless, and I've turned a lot of couples to other venues in the area because we weren't a good fit for them. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, with sharing the business, you know, because at the end of the day, we're here to support the couples and get them the best vendors that we can for their wedding. So I don't mind, you know, sharing the love with other venues as well, but you got to find one that's affordable and one that will allow you to do what you want to do on your wedding day.
Yeah, I full-heartedly agree with that. I also, you know, just generally your vendors, I think we've said that a number of times before, is you need to, you know, make sure if you want something and that vendor does not offer that, or venue does not offer that, then maybe that's not the right fit. There should be someone who would offer that for you. It's your day. It's hopefully the one time, it might be the first time, the only time you get married. So absolutely. Can you talk to us a little bit about, because I know a lot of venues offer open houses. They do open houses so that they can make sure that, you know, potential clients can see the space. Can you talk about like the importance of that?
Well, you know, like we've already alluded to, it's important to go to these bridal shows as well, to meet some of those local vendors, to see which ones you might jive with, and kind of, you know, gauge your budget against what is out there to see what you really want. And ironically, the Henry Manor is having an open house bridal show Sunday, June 27th. So it'll be from noon to 6 p.m. We're going to kind of keep it somewhat intimate with, you know, about 24 vendors. We're kind of looking at, you know, 2 per category in the local Fairfield County and Franklin County area. But again, open to the public. We're going to be giving away raffle prizes from every vendor. And we're also, the grand prize giveaway is a dream wedding package. Right now it's valued at over $12,000. So you're going to get a free venue, a free photographer, a free wedding planner, a free limo, possibly a caterer. So the list is going up and up as far as what people can get. So, you know, feel free to look us up online if you're interested. And you can buy tickets through our Eventbrite, you know, through our Facebook event.
Well, thank you. So there's another opportunity for you. Tons of opportunities to go meet your vendors. But I think specifically for your venue, you know, if that's the first thing that you book, you have a chance to look around the venue first and foremost, make sure it's what you're looking for, and then talk to vendor staff or venue staff to say, okay, well, if I want these 5 things, is this offered to me? So thank you very much. All right, Allison, do you have anything else to add before we move on to the, Andrea, anything else to add before we move on to the next question?
I would say one of the biggest misconceptions that I've heard from a planning perspective is that some couples don't want, and brides in particular, might not want to book a wedding planner for full planning because they think that the planner is going to plan for them and make all the decisions for them. And for me personally, I'm like, no, that's not my job. I can make executive decisions, but my job is to guide you in that process, guide you to the decisions that'll help make your day what you want and not what I want, because my style isn't your style. So I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. Some planners do design, but they shouldn't design based on what they want. It should be on what the client wants. For me personally, I don't design, I just plan, manage, coordinate, and again, keep, you know, people on that schedule, even during the planning process, you know, so many months out, this is what you should be doing. These are the decisions that you should be making. and try to pull out what they want, because some people don't know. They're so scatterbrained. So I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions, is thinking that we are going to make all the decisions for them and it's going to be a wedding that we want, and that's not the case.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you brought that up, because I do think a lot of clients think we make all the decisions, just hand it over and we'll do it. And that's, I haven't met a planner yet that does all of that. Not yet in my life. So we want you to have control. We'll just guide you, right? Okay, so final question today. So I will start back with Chad. What is something most couples don't ask, but they should when booking your service?
If we have other services. That's what I would like to ask, but specifically for photo booth is, what are the other options for the photo booth itself? Because there are many. We can have different camera types. We can have different backdrops. We obviously have the different styles. We have different uploading options for the customer. We have different prop options. We can customize props if they would like them. Obviously, with the COVID era, some people don't even want props. We leave that up to the event hall, obviously to the governor's guidance, and then to the couple. It seems today that most of the people that are booking us and going forward with their events do want props, which is great. The only thing that we won't do is bring props that would be touching the face. So, we try to keep, obviously, common sense here. I do want to say one thing about wedding shows. Just if any couple is going to go to a wedding show, do yourself a favor. Print out your name, phone number, email, whatever else, and put it on a sticker. And if you drop by a booth and someone says, well, would you want to fill this thing out, instead of wasting 2 minutes of your time, because there is only so much time to see these vendors, just get your sticker out and say, here's my information. I think you'll enjoy the show much better. You'll be able to do it much more efficiently. And I think the vendors like that as well. But almost every vendor is going to ask you for your information, and we always get it after the fact. But that's one way to help yourself out and the vendor. And I would also say this: if someone invites you over to their booth, just kindly acknowledge and say, no, I'm not interested, instead of just walking right by. Those are just two things that I've observed over 14 years that I think it's courteous to be that way, but it's also, like I said, with that sticker of your information or card, whatever you want to have, you can get on their list for their freebies like that. A lot of people won't fill it out just because they don't want to do it. They've done it 10 times, and you can save yourself that hassle by doing that in advance. So, I just wanted to point that out.
That's great advice, Chad, because I've even seen people bring business cards that they've specifically made just for that particular instance. And it saves us time, it saves them time. I tried to give away a free venue at these bridal shows, and I couldn't read what they wrote down, so I had to pick another person. So
that's the other thing, when they write, exactly, you might not get the email quite right. You won't be able to get a phone number quite right, whatever. But when they go to these shows, they want information, and that's what we're there for. So don't hide your information from us. Give it to us, and we'll give you the best deals that we have, because you're a participant with the show.
I love everything that you said about, especially the show. I think it's really important to highlight that this is not high pressure sales. This is not a high pressure sales situation for you brides and grooms listening out there. This is education. This is them letting you know that they're here, letting you know about their service. If you don't want to talk to someone, we do ask that you just be nice. No, thank you, not today. It doesn't have to, and that's it. That's all that needs to be said. But I would suggest you talk to them, especially if you need anything, because you don't know what they're offering. You don't know what they're offering, what other services, like Chad said, they have to offer. So if you have the time, I highly suggest that you take the time to listen or at least peruse their booth. And they'll give you that space. They will. They should, right? So, so thank you for that, calling that out.
One last thing, I think all the vendors want to have time, FaceTime with people that stop by their booth, but we also know that they have to hit a lot of other people up. So I think as a courtesy of almost all of our vendors, we don't want to bogart your time. We just kind of want to get our message and a flyer in your hand or a business card or a promotion, and then get you on your way. You know, I can just say, spend a couple minutes with each person you're interested in, move on, have some cake or a drink or whatever, have a good time. I have seen over the course of 14 years, the same people go to the bridal shows that aren't even getting married. They just like to hang out and have a good time and just see what's going on and taste the food and whatnot. So you don't even have to be in the market to get married, I don't think, to go to one of these shows. I think it's just a really good time. And, you know, especially if you have a best friend that you just want to hang out with for a day, consider that. I think I'm selling for the wrong business here.
I know, you should come sell for one of us who throw shows. No, it's good things for all of our couples out there to hear. And it's good that you're saying this on behalf of all of our vendors. I think we're all saying the same thing. So appreciate that.
If I might add, pardon me for interrupting. If I might add, we actually a couple of years ago made it that much easier for couples to get in touch with us at wedding shows. They can actually text us, and there is a short code and a keyword. The keyword is actually love, which I was shocked that it was still available. But they can text us to actually find out more information about us if they don't feel comfortable chatting with us face to face. There will be a link to our pricing as well as a snazzy photo, because we have photos from a lot of our photographer friends, as well as a link to actually schedule a Zoom consultation right in that text message response. So it can all be contactless, and we'll make it very, very easy, especially for those who feel comfortable in the realm of texting.
Oh, that's awesome. My generation's all about texting. So Chris, since you were the last one to talk, why don't you tell us something that couples don't ask but should ask about hiring a DJ?
That's another great question. I think sometimes people are not comfortable asking some question for whatever reason, and the thing that they should ask is the question that they think is not a good question, because there really are no bad questions. And pre-COVID, I would do my initial consultation with people at a local taco joint, and we would have tacos and drink some margaritas and have a good time, because I think that's the way that it should. And that's genuinely who I am. I enjoy eating tacos and I enjoy a good tasty margarita. So typically it's not an issue for them to be asking questions. However, they definitely can and should ask any sort of question. The questions that I have from my initial consultation are pretty numerous, because I like to get to know the couples well and understand kind of every aspect to kind of interview them as well. I think somebody mentioned earlier that not only do the couples interview the vendors, but the vendors like to interview the couples as well. And I would like to think that those that make it to the step in the process where they sit down and chat with me, that I've kind of overcame whatever sort of objections or hurdles they might have had, or they would feel comfortable with me to begin with. But when we sit down, nothing is really off the table. So the couples should ask any question that they have on their mind. There's not one in particular necessarily, because there's so many different vectors that go along with being a DJ and being part of a wedding day. But there really are no dumb questions to ask. So they should ask whatever is on their mind to ensure that they get everything answered.
I think that's a fair response. I think the struggle is that couples don't always know what they don't know, so they don't know what to ask. The takeaway for me there is ask your dumb questions. Ask them, regardless of how dumb you think they are, because that's how new questions come up, right?
Right. And the process that we go through, I'd like to think that I'm decent at portraying my value to to couples, and it usually answers most of the questions that they might have. But we typically start out by, I typically start out by letting them ask whatever questions they want. And, you know, they're going to hear me talk more than enough when we sit down and chat. So I want them to get their questions off their chest to start with. And then I go through, you know, every last detail that we possibly could. And I even include a copy of an itinerary that I've used at a past wedding, hopefully at their venue, so that they can see exactly what goes into planning a day like that from a DJ's perspective. So there really are no dumb questions whatsoever. If you have a question, you should absolutely ask it.
Great point. Amy, what is something that most couples don't ask but should when booking your service, dancing?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, what all is included in the consultation and what is included in the wedding packages. Every dance studio is a little bit different. So, for example, our studio, we do include cutting the music, and we include a little mini performance at one of our parties if they're interested in getting the nerves out before the big day. We include in the first lesson, it's a consultation. It's not just a lesson. We do spend pretty much the whole 45 minutes on the floor dancing, but we also want to understand what their dress looks like. We want to understand what limitations that might bring. We want to understand as much as we can about their big day as possible, so that we can make that dance for them for their day. Everything is customized. So just understanding what the dance studio is offering to you and what they're planning to give you in your wedding package is really important. The other thing right now with COVID is safety procedures. So we are one of the most hands-on and, touchy-feely of all of the vendors probably. So, hugs are out right now, unfortunately, but, as a physical activity, masks are not required while dancing. However, there are people that are more comfortable if it's a studio where masks are required. In our case, we have 2 rooms. We have a large ballroom and we have a smaller ballroom. And if there's somebody that prefers everyone in the room wear a mask, we can use a small ballroom and we can make that a separate thing for them. If they're okay with a couple 20 feet away dancing without masks on, then we can go in the main ballroom. But it's important to know what's being offered and what the safety procedures are at this point.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I think everybody feels a little bit differently about the precautions. So ask, make sure you're comfortable with what those are.
Exactly.
And even for the wedding day, right? Making sure those involved in the dances you're prepared to address their concerns as well.
Correct.
Rich, what are some things that couples don't ask but should?
Well, it was briefly touched on at the very beginning of this by Chris, I believe, but I think the couples should ask whether or not they need to purchase wedding insurance for the day of, and not only just for the day of, but for the wedding in general. When you're talking specifically to a venue, ask them if they have their insurance policy that covers accidents and injuries while guests are on site for the day. Really no big deal to ask the venue for a copy of their insurance policy. If they don't have a policy and you will be serving alcohol at your wedding, you can be personally liable for accidents or injuries or thefts or anything. So as I did some research into the wedding insurance, necessities, it's anything from, your venue site could burn down, a week before the wedding. What do you do then? Weather could cancel the entire, ceremony. What do you do? If one of your vendors doesn't show up and you've already paid them in full, wedding insurance can help cover a lot of that. But talk to your agent. I'm no professional in the insurance, industry, but some of your homeowner's insurance can cover, say, the rings. But when it comes to the dresses and the photos and, any of the other things, all your gifts, all of that stuff can be insured, and it's relatively inexpensive when you think about it. So I would definitely recommend that people at least look into that and make it part of their budget if they see value in it.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make sure you're protecting yourself in all of this. One day to blow up your whole life. You got to think through that, right? For sure. So, there are other insurances out there that you probably should think about too. I mean, insurance on your ring, cancellation insurance. So not just the day of and on site, but also, the things that can come up beforehand or immediately after. So great. Allison, from a show perspective, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, one question that I would encourage all couples to ask at a show is, when you're meeting with vendors, there are some vendors that offer incentives for day of booking or booking so many weeks after the show. Not all of them do, but some do. And I wouldn't say it's a discount. I think a lot of it is sometimes some added value, but it never hurts to ask, because the answer is always no if you don't ask. So, when you're talking to people, and if you really, really like a vendor, don't be afraid to ask them, do you have any incentive if I book with you right now? Or if, do you give us so many weeks after the show? It doesn't hurt to ask. Not everyone's going to say yes, but there might be some out there that do. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Andrea, anything else to add from a planner perspective?
You actually talked about it earlier. I'm like, man, that's what I was going to say. You and Chad, actually. So I just want to reiterate, don't take vendors at face value, because you don't know what other services that they do offer, and they might not be showcasing them. Like, if you see a photo booth and it's just the classic one or the old school one, as someone might call it, and I don't want that, ask what other services or what other types that they offer. And or talking to a vendor, if you don't need their services, all of us know a lot of other vendors, so we can always recommend another vendor that someone might be looking for, and you don't know unless you ask.
Yeah, and utilize the people you talk to, utilize their education. Like, they can refer you, they can give you information you didn't even know you needed. I think we're all happy. We love educating people, all of us, every single one of us. We love that opportunity. So utilize us for that. Absolutely. Well, that was all of my questions for you today. So I am going to throw it back over to Allison to kind of wrap us up. But before I do, I just want to thank every single one of you for being on the call with us today. I think I learned some things, and I hope you guys did as well. So thanks again. So Allison, you want to close us up?
Okay, well, I just want to, reiterate what Michelle said. Thank you all for your time today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your Sunday evening to help us educate all of the engaged couples out there. And I know they really appreciate it too. So thank you so much for that. Secondly, I just want to, kind of remind everyone, if you're not familiar with Devoted Columbus, we are a local wedding resource in Columbus. We help you put you in touch with vendors. We also help educate you. We put out a wedding planning guide that has lots of tips throughout your planning process, as well as great ads from many local vendors in it too. One of the biggest things we do that can be a huge benefit to you is our wedding experience, which is coming up Sunday, April 18th. It's going to be here before we know it. But lots of great vendors there. Come on out. Every couple gets a free swag bag. There's goodies that are put in those, donated by many vendors, and vendors that aren't even in the show too. So lots of chance to learn about people. But Michelle mentioned prizes earlier today. I was saving that till the end, but we do a grand finale at our show, and we give away thousands of dollars in free prizes. And I want to say, when I looked the end of last week, we were up to almost $10,000 in prizes that we'll be giving away at our show. And all you have to do is attend. So everyone that attends gets 2 chances with their ticket to win a grand prize. So come on out, because you'll never know what you'll win. Other than that, if there's anything you need help with during your planning process, if you're looking for an extra set of hands on your wedding day, we do have wedding day assistants that are happy to assist. But any question at all, any help, we're in Old Town Hilliard. So, you can either stop in. We have a resale shop now as well. So you can stop in and look for items for your wedding. Otherwise, we do resale markets throughout the year. But anything you need, don't hesitate. We are always happy to pick up the phone or answer an email and help you guys in your planning process. So, wish you guys luck. Congratulations on being engaged. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much.